Just how bad has Florida State's transfer portal class been this year?
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith. Thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles football with me. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Just how bad has it been? That is the theme for today's Locked On Seminoles show. I don't know if I can put it into measurement yet, but the thing that Florida State did better than any program in college football has fallen flat on its face this season. That would be the transfer portal additions. Several players have been good. A few of them are a little bit better than good. But compared to what they've done, it certainly doesn't even remotely measure up, and it's not even average either. Today, I want to talk about it straight through the quarterback position and then just discuss it overall and also kind of give credence to what that has done, not only for recruiting going into the December signing day, but how it changes what the Florida State coaches have to do to make sure this doesn't happen again. So without further ado, let's talk quarterback. Obviously, DJ Uiagalelei is not exactly dominating. He had a poor start to the season. He's got the hand injury. I don't know if and when he will return before anybody asks. I honestly have no idea. If you've seen him on the sidelines at the middle of the games when they show him, or if you're at a game and you see it, he's got the big cast on his hand or bandage, whatever it is. I don't anticipate him playing anytime soon. Whatever it is, it's not good. But for the record, this would be his stat line. And it's from 5 games. Keep that in mind. This is only 5 games for DJ Uiagalelei. 84 completions out of 156 attempts, 53.8, 1,065 yards, 6.8 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Those are not good numbers. He had -8 yards rushing. And if you really want to dive into it, the stat that I've gotten more and more in tune with is a situational stat that you see come up all the time. Whether it's Chris Collins, we're talking about it on Sunday Night Football, or you're watching whatever game in college, this scenario is vital. 3rd down and medium, usually defined as 3rd down and 4, 5, or 6. Well, here are DJ's numbers in that category this year. It's just really bad. 3 out of 7, 42.9%, 56 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He's got 3 first downs. They really didn't trust him to throw it in that down much. I thought that was kind of interesting. Florida State, this is also sad, they had more passing attempts for him on 3rd and 7, 8 or 9, which means Florida State's offense is just dreadful in general, but I digress. He's just not a clutch player. That is fact. So that brings up a few questions. Number one, why would you go with him? He went to Clemson, got beat out by Klubnik, goes to Oregon State. They run a very different system under Jonathan Smith, now the head coach at Michigan State. So why did Florida State bring in DJ Uiagalelei? Well, they've coached one guy. I believe his name was White, 2019. Last year they were at Memphis. That might have been fool's gold. He was a senior player. He's a guy that was playing against G5 comp. Let's not kid ourselves. But he wasn't a guy that struggled. He had 4,000 yards passing. So they have coached that before. But historically, under anybody that Mike Norvell and or his staff has touched when they combined, the run-pass quarterbacks have been the ones that have excelled. White is the exception, not the rule. So why did they go with it? I'm not sure we'll ever know. Coaches don't give full answers. They usually lie a lot. So that's what it is. Being as it may, I still think it's interesting they did that when there were other quarterbacks that were good. Let me give you a few other opportunities to mull these over. These are just a few. I could have used others. I could have used others than the one players I'm about to mention here for Florida State. Curtis Rourke. He was at Ohio. He was a MAC kid, but he was very consistent. Took him to the MAC title game a couple of years ago. He was solid the year after. He's banged up this week, ironically, for Indiana, but he's 135 of 181, 74.6%, 1,941 yards, a whopping 10.7 yards per attempt. That's insane. 15 touchdowns and 3 picks. He's 10th in the nation also with 277.3 per game, but that 10.7 is second in the nation. He knows how to hit big plays. DJ does not. Syracuse, Kyle McCord. At least he'd played at Ohio State and seen what it's like to be pressured as the quarterback, both from the media and fans, as well as internally. 185 at 282, 65.6%, 2160, 7.7 per attempt, 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Not the greatest run game there, but he's second in the nation with 360 yards a game. Then you got Tyler Shuck at Louisville. 147 at 234, 62.8%, 2,016 yards, 8.6 per attempt, 18 touchdowns to 3 picks. He is 11th in the nation at 288 yards per. By the way, his third down stats, just as a comparison to DJ, these are 3rd and 4 to 3rd and 6, 71.4% by completing 10 of 14, 181 yards, 3 scores, no picks, 8 first downs. He's clutch. So to put it mildly, Florida State missed at the quarterback position by a mile. A lot of people called it out, this guy included. We're like, I don't know. I don't trust him. I think he'll be an improvement in some ways over what other pocket passers might be around the nation, but he's obviously not going to replace Jordan Travis. I didn't come close even saying that. I was way overboard. For some reason, it hasn't worked. Part of it's the pass protection. I know there are other factors besides DJ. The drops suck. But he just doesn't throw the ball well to the middle of the field, and he doesn't push the ball down the field very well, despite having one of the strongest arms you're going to see, not just in college, but in the pros as well. So it's pretty wild to me. Not sure you can fix that at any point in a career, but it's happened before. But anyway, Florida State missed on that, and I think it's really relegated some other players because it's second down and long if you throw with him too often. Again, he's just barely over 50%. Obviously, they went to Brock Glenn. Obviously, Luke Kromenhoek is playing now, and DJ's in the past. But if you would have picked a better quarterback or recruited better a few years ago, you wouldn't be in a situation you got a redshirt freshman and a true freshman in the quarterback queue right now, and things would be better. So Florida State missed in high school and college transfer portal to end up with Brock and Luke having to play before their time. That is absolutely product mismanagement 101. This is how you fail right here. So anyway, Florida State is in a bad situation with that. We'll see if they can rectify it going into next season. Obviously going to have a lot of previews with the transfer portal as it opens up, I believe, the 9th of December. But whatever the date is, and NCAA could change that too. There will be a plenty of that stuff coming up at Locked On Seminoles once we get into November and then on into December. Coming up next, going to talk about some of the other positions that Florida State could have done differently, what went right, what went wrong. That's next at Locked On Seminoles. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. So hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Where did Florida State hit with the portal? There's a couple ways you can look at this, but I'm going to go linebacker, ironically. Let's go back to the prior game. There was a play where Cam Riley got a deflection in a one-on-one situation down by the goal line. Heck of a play. Cam, so far this year, I put down his stats. He's done a pretty good job. Second leading tackler for the Seminoles. Coming over from Auburn, 32 tackles. He's got three sacks, 3.5 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 pass breakup, and a forced fumble. I mean, he's a pretty darn good football player. but that's been the exception, not the rule. And I'm talking about besides DJ. You must have consistency at linebacker, and they missed several guys. Anyway, Nicholson was out in the last game. That didn't help, but they stuck up. Justin Cryer stepped up. Some of the younger guys, that's good, but you needed him to hit it because DJ Lundy's out. If it wasn't for the hit with Cam Riley, they'd be in a lot of trouble. So, Wallahia, the defensive end, the backup, he's been pretty good. 14 tackles, 2.5 sacks, or 2.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sack, and pass breakup. He's good in the limited time that he's played. I think Rodell Williams would have been the running back, but he got banged up early in the year and he's out. Marvin Jones, of course, is the other obvious choice. 20 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and he's got a forced fumble. These are good football players, but there are just too many guys that you're like, well, what happened? I thought Earl Whittle was going to be that guy. He came in, did well in spring, but things haven't gone well since. Where's he been? He really hasn't played. Jalen Brown's been in the lineup, out of the lineup. The receiver that transferred from LSU is a redshirt freshman. There's still plenty of time, but it hasn't worked out. Jalen Lucas came down from Indiana, was playing pretty well, but he got hurt. That's, part of football. It's part of life. Unfortunate for Jalen, he will be back. That's Jakai's brother, by the way. Brady Kelly's been a solid addition to Florida State. Nice role player on the defensive line. Nothing wrong with that. But you know what? It could have been better. Obviously, DJ Lundy flirted, by the way, with Weaving, but he did not. Terrence Ferguson, he's not done that much after transferring out from Alabama. In and out of the lineup, hasn't been consistent as a guard. Not sure why. Malik Benson's been a solid player, but he's had too many big drops. He'll make the great catch, and then it just falls apart too. I'm not sure what that's from, but the drop he had early in the last game against Duke was a rather big one. Let's see. Richie Leonard came over from UF. Just hadn't worked out. You can say whatever you want. He's just not been that good. And I don't know what the deal is with that. I'm a little surprised. I thought he'd be better. Devontae Brown played quite a bit early, and then he just faded. He doesn't play much. I don't know if he's banged up. That's a safety after being a corner at UCF in Miami. Again, it just really hasn't worked out. Shawn Murphy. Maybe Florida State shouldn't take players from Alabama. Just hasn't worked out. He doesn't play. I don't know what the deal is, but that's a problem. I'm just going through this list and I'm like, well, where's the positives here? This has been really bad. Marion Cooper came back after being in Colorado, hasn't done anything. It's been a bad transfer portal class. So think about this. Florida State, again, was the kingpin of the portal in high success rate. What changed? Why all of a sudden did they fail so much? I want to delve into that a little bit here. And these are just theories. I have nothing to back up the following, but take it for what it's worth. Number one, I think NIL is the biggest reason. I have heard repeatedly over the last few years there are players at various programs around the country. And I have no verification of this, but for whatever reason, there's disagreement about it, and then players are suddenly hurt. In other words, if I ain't getting what I want, I'm just going to sit. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody at Florida State was in that situation right now where they thought they should have got more, so they're not going to play. Players are in a little bit more control of that, but maybe not. The universities and coaches don't want to announce it if it's perceived that the player is not getting what he wants. He may agree to something else, but then changed his mind, whatever. There's so many convoluted possibilities, but I've heard this at several schools. Is Florida State one of them? Wouldn't surprise me. Two, it's just flat out injury in general. Coaches lie about injuries. Any one of the players I just mentioned could be banged up and they're just not talking about it. That wouldn't shock me. Probably should not shock you. That's part of life. And third, it's just flat out their bust. But again, why? Most of these guys were very highly recruited out of high school. Is it an attitude? Lack of attitude? Like they don't want to push it that hard? I don't know. But several of these guys were 4- and 5-star recruits. Didn't work out of school one, but it's happened at many other schools where somebody transfers and it did work. Why not now? I'm very curious as to why that's been the case, but it's puzzling. And Florida State rests right now with a 1-6 record. So many guys have failed, and it's just frustrating. So what position, before I go on, what position should they have hit more? Obviously offensive line, but it was the most experienced place on your roster, and you added a couple guys, and none of it has worked. It's bizarre. You got Jalen Early in there, and you got Andre Otto, guys that aren't probably ready, but they played better than some of the veterans that transferred in or came back. It is really weird what's going on with the offensive line, and I'm not even going to try to decipher because I don't think I could. Not going to waste your time or mine. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about the overall concern about the misses with the portal, because the portal window opens up again in December. And this time, it's after a disastrous season. Will the Noles be able to help increase the roster talent through the portal, or should we expect something bad again? Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. So will Florida State be able to do anything to get over the hump in this offseason? I've got a few questions about that. And these are some of the questions that I would ask if I was Norvell, some of the staff, etc. What within the meetings, talking to myself, heck, talking to your wife, whatever. We have to figure out why this didn't work this year. No matter what number you want to take, the numbers I'm leaving aside. They just missed too many times this year. So here we go. First one, are we getting the right fit in the locker room? It used to be the answer was yes. They need to reevaluate that because so many guys have missed. You got to wonder about that. 2, the talent. Because guys are ranked high, usually stems on talent more than anything else. I've been a recruiting analyst. I've ranked kids in many different ways, whether it's individual camp, how I've seen them in a season, for an all-area team, whatever. But there's something about going to that next level and mentally taking those physical traits and understanding, well, everybody's good at this level. Who works harder? And that includes the mental side, learning the playbook, understanding that you may hate the strength and conditioning coach, but it is in your best interest to learn from them and get your body right. How do you eat? Are you the idiot that stays out till 3 a.m. drinking beer and chasing women? Whatever it is, you have to adjust. It's not the other way around where college football adjusts to you. You adjust to college football. So, number 3, leadership. This program is lacking it in spades. I'm just going to leave it at that because how many of the transfers do you think are leaders? Maybe a few. I'm guessing Cam Riley might be one. He's an inside linebacker, second on the team in tackles. How many more are out of the transfers? I don't know. Rodell might have ended up. Jalen seems like he might have been a guy. They're both injured, though. That sucks. Well, here maybe. I don't know. I don't know much about Marvin's personality, so I couldn't say. But they haven't had enough guys be impactful as players for it to even matter as much as it should anyway. And then how much do these guys want to adapt? Those things I was talking about a second ago, and in regards to talent, I'm not sure that went real well. How many guys you really think adapted to being in Tallahassee and being at Florida State, adapting to the culture, the schoolwork, the coaches, the new style, whatever it is the strength coach wants, the nutritionist? Did they really? I'm not so sure that's been the case. Number 5, and this is the biggest one. This isn't a player thing. This 100% on the university. You could argue this is the most important one out of this list. Debatable, but certainly in conversation. Money. What do I mean by money? Well, it's real simple. Miami offered the most money for Cam Ward, and look where they sit. You have to pay to play. That's one of my all-time favorite sayings that I live by in Miami. Put their money where their mouth is. Florida State, and not so much. So that's just where you are. Number 6, are Florida State's coaches on the same page, meaning their evaluations with players, not just physically, but what they want from a culture standpoint? Because it changed so much, but the staff didn't really change. So maybe some of the back office people would have, but like the staff, these same guys. What's going on? How is that possible? It's crazy. Number 7, the injury factor. That's unfortunate, but did you sign anybody to help you overcome injuries generically? I don't know if they did. They signed some pretty good ones. I thought Benson might have been that guy, but he just doesn't have good enough hands. Rodell might have been, but again, he got banged up. Jalen banged up. I mean, Cam's a good player at linebacker, but I never thought he was going to be great. Then, Marvin Jones has had his moments, but he hasn't been the most consistent player. So that's a little bit iffy. 8, and finally, how many positions, if any, did the Florida State coaching staff misevaluate, like the totality of how many players they needed there? O-line, they took 2, and some might have thought that was interesting, but they'd missed so much in recruiting, they kind of had to. Obviously, quarterback's just a disaster in general. You only took 1 and you took the wrong one, but did they need another pure receiver? Did they need another pure defensive back? They certainly needed another linebacker. It's a debatable topic, but an interesting one. I just think Florida State, again, the money factor probably plays into this. They're a little short-handed right now, in my opinion. And they're paying for it, yes, pun intended, on the field and most noticeably in the win-loss column. So I'm curious to see what Florida State does this offseason with the portal because they missed so bad this year. There's no way around it, man. They stunk for part of this season, and now they got to eat it. It's just the reality. Florida State's got to eat it. They're coming into a situation now where they're going to have a losing season, not go to a bowl, and need wholesale changes for elite players. That combination is not a fortuitous one as I see it at this time. We'll see if they can pull out of it, but right now I don't think Florida State's in a very good spot. With that said, one thing I do know is you're all in a good spot here at Locked On Seminoles, and thank you for making it your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate you stopping in to talk Seminoles football with me. If you have not already, please hit that notification bell, that like button, and subscribe to this Florida State podcast. Locked On Seminoles isn't going anywhere. I truly appreciate you coming in because I like doing it. Let's keep it rolling. After this, go check out Kent Gibbs and my guy Alex Dono. They're doing Locked On ACC. Got a lot of good things going on over there. Everybody have a good one, and I will see you on Thursday.